Hitty, good morning. Today is 15 July. We are in Cluster API provider for IBMCloud meeting. Let's get started. So just give me a minute. Okay. Somehow this Zoom is hiding my bar. Anyway, so I think what we can start discussing about is like, so first we'll discuss about 0.2.3 release we made released recently, and then we'll also discuss what all items got merged in last 2 weeks, and then we'll look at 0.3 plan. All right. So quickly, we have released 0.2.3. I think it's almost the same time, like almost 2 weeks back. The reason I just want to release this version is because this contains this PowerVS utils package bum and also like VPC package update, right? So because VPC there's this the old, like the V1 package is got deprecated, like they're recommending to use V0X version of it. So we just moved our code to that particular version of package, and then we thought like we'll just create a release with that update, right? So that's the reason we just created this particular release. So this is mainly the sort of update with the package, right? And then so what we delivered in last 2 weeks. So we had meeting on July 1st, right? Okay. From July 1st, if I look at the changes, we did a lot of UT coverage. The controllers, like the cloud scope, and then also we kind of updated to v1.2 version, beta 2. Then of course, so there's this release pending this weekend or maybe next week at sometime for 1.2 release, right? So I think once we get that G8 version, so we'll just kind of migrate to that version. I think it's happening somewhere next week, I feel so, 18th or Monday or Tuesday, sometime. We'll move to that release. And then again, a lot of UT coverage in cloud scope, and then there's this small bug we fixed. So this is mainly for adding verification for the manifest. So Prajat, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure, Manju. So initially what we figured out was whenever there was a new PR that is to come in, there was no verify manifest target as a part of the CI, right? So sometimes it used to miss the manifest generation file. So if some PRs were raised and the manifest command was not raised, so those changes were being missed and not verified as of the CI. So we have added a target now for the verify manifest, so that whenever a new PR is raised, it will also check for the any changes in the manifest files. If there are any differences, it will indicate that at that very point. And we can avoid that going forward with the future PRs.
Yep, thank you. This is another very important CI/CD bug solved. And then so we just merged another important sort of enhancement we made into the project. So this is mainly for DHCP based VMs. So right now, if you look at our machine APIs, right? So all the address, whatever we are publishing. So I think Karthik is missing, like, but I can take you through the code, what we merged here. So basically at the moment, it just look for the VM addresses, right? So this is what the set address call what we have, and then basically we just go to this instance, the instance networks, right? So basically the instance network will have all those IP address and all for the static network. So we're just sort of fetching those address and then just adding this address here, and then kind of returning, setting the address basically for the machine. So that's what we are doing at the moment, like before this fix. And the challenge with the DHCP is that uh, the VM in Power BI doesn't really kind of publish those IP address in the instance output. So what we thought is like, there's a way of getting those IP address from the DHCP service. That's what we have fixed in this particular fix, where we are just getting like, okay. So yeah, before that, like, okay, so maybe I can explain first how we are getting that, and then we'll talk about the caching part. Okay, so basically what we are doing here is like, we are fetching the network ID for this machine, and then post that, like we are getting the network and all, like from the instance, like we're just comparing the network and then whatnot. And then we are doing like fetching all the DHCP servers first. I mean, like we will just fetch all the DHCP servers available in that Povis instance, and then we compare with the network what we have it for, like the VM, right? So then so that's what we do it. And then the DHCP server details we are fetching for that, and then we are going through the leases. So basically what really happens is when DHCP server kind of list these like the details, right? So that's where it will just list the lease. So saying that what all sort of entries I'm really managing that part of DHCP service, right? So it's basically like leases they call. Then the lease will be like a sort of MAC address and IP pair. So basically we have to compare with like the MAC address of instance, and then with this DHCP lease, right? So the DHCP MAC, and then we are comparing with PVM network MAC address. So that's what we are comparing, and then ensuring that if it is matches with that MAC address of the VM, so then we are saying that we just found the IP address, and then we're getting that IP address, and then basically adding into the address, right? But if you look at this whole process, right, it is like little costly, because we are calling the DHCP network multiple times. Like, like you'll be end up calling all DHCP servers, and then again you're making some get DHCP server call, and then again this is a costly affair basically. So because you're end up doing a lot of these operations. So what we thought is like, we'll have some sort of a cache in place. So this is something like a typical TTL sort of a cache, where it will get expired after some time. Like I think we have code here. Like we are using basically the client Go cache. There's already a cache written in the client Go package, so we're just using that TTL cache here. So where is that? Yeah, so this is what we are using, right? So this accepts like the timeout value. So at the moment it just flushes the content every 20 minutes, right? So that's what it does. So yeah, we're just trying to sort of like, if in 20 minutes anytime if it gets called, so it will just use the content if it is there in the cache, right? So you can see here the function. Just give me a minute. Where's that? Yeah, so that's what we are doing here, right? So this is what it does. It just gets by key. The key name in the cache will be like the server name. So that's your VM name, and then the value will be like the IP address, right? So that's how it is. If it exists, it will just use that IP address, and then it will just set the address here. So you can see here, right? So if it just returns the object and then exists, and then error. If there are any sort of errors, so we'll just returning it. If object exists, so then we are kind of getting that, mapping that information from object. So object will contain that whole information. So we just like, it's kind of an interface. So we just sort of doing a typecasting here, and then getting that IP from that object, and then we are assigning in the IP address, and then address field for the machine status. Yeah, so that's what we are doing. If yeah, there's also yeah, so there's also a cache add here. So like, let's say if this is not really found, so it's in the cache. If it doesn't really exist, it just goes through the normal code flow. And then after, once we kind of find that IP address, once we kind of get that IP address from the DHCP list, right? So we just adding that in the cache. So this is the call which adds the content into a cache. So this is the store cache store, and then we're just adding the content and then reading it. Yeah, that's pretty much about the entire code flow. So any questions? I'll take questions if any. All right. Yeah, so this is the structure. This is the object I was talking about. So this object in the cache, it will be like name and the IP pair. So yeah, that's all about this feature. If no questions, I'll go back. And then yeah, another UT coverage added for the controller package. And then yeah, this fix is a recent one. I just made a document for how to build the image. Yeah, maybe if you can go through this repository. And now the information is available here, part of the developer guide. Yeah, so I just created two sections here, VPC and Power VS. Okay, so for the Power VS, what we need to do is like basically now we have the code, entire code is in image builder itself. So we don't need to kind of build this package, any like with any manual steps. So what we can utilize this image builder, sort of they use Packer and then Ansible script. So we can just use those content for building our own image. So basically what you need to do is like, there is this in this particular repository, right? So we already have a bunch of configurations files, and then like, for example, like let's say like what version of containerd, and then like how do you, from where you pull that containerd, or any of your cube ADM, how do you install, and then whatnot. So everything is there in that Ansible script. And you have the VM provisioning and then actual flow related to the cloud, right? So that contains in this the Packer. So there's a Packer configuration. So I think we can just do a deep dive on this topic maybe sometime, whenever we get chance, like maybe later. So but the concept here is like, this repository got the Packer configuration. So Packer is basically the tool from the HashiCorp. So that's mainly for kind of, you can build your own images and all using that tool. So that's what we have basically written the tool Packer provider for Power VS, and that's where we have all this logic of creating VM, and then sort of capturing VM, and then exporting image, and then all that. So I think we can go through that later in a deep dive. But so basically, in order to create an image, what you need to do is like, just need to create this user variable JSON file. So these are the sort of files, variable files which are required for so building your image. So basically, if you look at this content, right? So the account ID is like your for IBM Cloud account ID. Then API key, what you want to use here, and then there are this bunch of COS configurations. So basically, this is mainly meant for let's say while building image, right? So where you really want to push that image once you build. So that's what the configuration about this COS. So basically the access key. So when you create a COS, right? I mean, in order to access that COS, so you just need COS bucket. So you just need access key and secret key. So those are the two fields we have here, and then bucket and then region are the sort of tells like where you really want to push your bucket. I mean, push your image, right? So that's what the target bucket and the region where your bucket resides. Okay, sorry. And then key pair name is the key you want to use it while deploying the VM. So, and then bunch of these different parameters for deciding what version of Kubernetes you want to install during this image creation. And then of course the region is like what region you want to use for creating this VM and then all this operation, and the service ID is where like the Power VS service ID, and then SSH private key file. So this contains the path to your private key in order to talk to your deployed VM and perform all those operations of Ansible run and all that, right? So that happens. I like using this private key, and then zone is of course yes, the Power VS zone. Yeah, so basically just need to kind of create this file and then override with this particular variable, and then make, and then just call this target. So this will build CentOS image, and then it will like get exported to the cost bucket, what you mentioned here, so as a public image and public object. Not really. I think not public. So I think it's up to you whether you want to declare public or not. So I think that's the post deployment, but it basically just sort of create this object into this bucket. So that's it. Any questions here?
Yes, Manju. One thing I'm not clear is like we are mentioning the cost details here, and we're also mentioning the service instance ID, region, and so on. Like, if you're importing the image into one of the buckets, then what is the purpose of specifying these?
Okay. The flow, how it goes is, see, service instance is what we are mentioning here. Basically, let's say, okay, okay, maybe step back. Okay, so what the flow, how it looks like is, for example, let's say you have a service instance. So if you want to create any VM, right? So basically you need a image, the base image, so which I have kind of a hard coded already here. Okay, so how can I explain this? Okay, in order to capture or create image in Power VS, right? So what you need, so basically you need a VM, and then you typically deploy a VM, and then you install some package, and then
Right.
you capture it, right? So that's what the operation is. So are
Right.
you with me till this
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so for that VM creation, right? So we just need the service instance ID. So where you really want to create that VM. Okay, so that's the first step. And the
Yeah.
next step is, once you kind of create that VM and then you install all the packages, right? The Power VS supports an operation called export image, right? So the
Okay.
export image is where it requires the parameters like where you want to export. So there are two options in Power VS export. So one is like export it in the same image, like in the service instance itself. That's where it will just capture and then make the entry into that image catalog, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
another option is, can you just export that the whole VM into the storage bucket? Okay.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
The reason behind exporting into storage bucket is you just capture it and export it to that bucket, and then it's like you just make that available for anyone to use, right? So that's
Right.
what the flow we are doing in the image, right? So if you look at here, right? So all these images are created via this flow, and we are just keeping it here in this sort of bucket as a public object. Anyone can import it. So in case if
Right.
someone else want to import in their account, they can use it, right? So that's what the intention of exporting into cost bucket means, the object store. Does it make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I got that part. Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions? Okay. So if you come to here, right? So the images under Capi, the Packer and the Power VS, right? So these are some of the Packer configurations we have created. Yeah, this contains like the bunch of it's a typically a JSON file for the Packer project. So this contains like, see, whatever you feed there, like some of those information will get fed here. So yeah, it's all part of this whole automation. So for example, like all these costs data will be fed here, and then access key and all that will be fed here, and then say all this, yeah, so the key pair region and all that, right? And then of course some of those parameters are null or default or whatever. So yeah, that's how it gets built. And then yeah, so the parameter CentOS, basically you can control like the different kind of OS if you want to write. For example, CentOS, I have created a configuration. So this is a typical base file for the Packer, and then this is like the per OS you can have your own different JSON file. So in our case, like we have these set of parameter for CentOS. So these some of these configurations will get used in Ansible scripts and all. Okay. Yeah, so this is actually a base image, basically, if you look at, right? So in order to even deploy a VM, right? So we just need some base image. So that's what I'm kind of using it from already a public bucket. So in Povius bucket, so there's a CentOS stream 8. So this one. See, basically the typical flow is like I'll just import an image from a public bucket and deploy a VM and install all the packages, whatever required packages, and then capture that VM and then again export to a COS. So that's how it is. Like use this base image, install it, and then create a modified image and export to a COS, like object
Yeah.
store.
Yeah, it makes much sense now, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's what the flow is.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, yeah, so the intention is like anyone can just use it. It's not like you don't need to have any sort of a prerequisite at all. So you just need to, if you just create this, sort of file user variables, you're good to go. So, I mean, of course, you just need to have these service instance created and all that. I think maybe we can enhance the doc here, like what all prerequisite we need. But yeah, it's basically just you need a very few basic things, right? So yeah, so ultimately we just want to have this the entire process running somewhere in the CI/CD. Yeah, so we need to explore that also, so that it just creates these images and push it. All right, so that's about that information about the image building. So any questions? Any comments? All right. Okay, going back to like the 0.3 plan. I think we have these many issues. Rajat, any further update on this machine health?
Manju, I had added comments of what I tried.
Mhm.
I'll need to further explore on how we can actually like work that out, right, in our scenario, right? How we can
Okay.
incorporate the same, yeah.
Okay. But okay, so the question is like, is it really stable? And then is it really working fine? Like if let's say if you keep it for a day or something like that, right? Have you tried?
Yeah, I have not tried it for day, but I'll do that. I tried it for I would say like at that very instance, right? Creating a cluster and then trying it out.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll try to have it for deployed in a cluster for a longer period of time and see how it behaves. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah. And you had asked that question, right? Or should we address the problem of the machines? So we can have that added over there and it will take care of the errored machines. So that is one thing. As far as the machines about the pending state are concerned, so that is, yeah, it is beyond our control. We can't do much about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, though, see, the only concern I had other day was like it was behaving crazy. Sometimes it was just going and deleting even the normal VMs. So I'm not really sure. Like, yeah, maybe I think if we just keep it for a few hours and then see how it behaves, not just like
Yes, yes.
just working cluster and then health check and see how it goes, right? So maybe that should give us more confidence on that.
Yes, yes, sure, Manju. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll keep it for a longer run now. Yeah.
Right. And enhance the UT coverage. What else is pending? I see some of these issues you updated. So can we
Yeah.
just this as a checklist and then maybe mark it whatever delivered? So I'm just
Yeah,
trying to.
yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll do that. Only like a few of test cases are remaining, which will be coming in like couple of days. But
Okay, okay. Let's mention whatever is done. Like maybe you can just check mark this whatever we have done, and then
right, yeah.
what else is remaining, right? So that I just want to see that part. Yeah, I mean, I see another PR from Prajot. I'll take a look at it. Okay, so code coverage for UT. Anything else pending in this?
No, Manju, I think we wanted it in the PR, but we have it as a periodic. So I think for now we can close this one. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you mind updating the task with more details and then maybe mention those PRs
Yes,
what we
yes,
must?
yes, yes.
Let's
I'll do that. I'll do. Yeah.
let's that includes. Yeah, this Bhaskar's thing. Amulya, one update.
Not much update on this part. So I created this issue. I am yet to add the block diagram. I'll just do that. I kind of missed adding that. So the call is in 2 week, like next Tuesday, not the coming Tuesday, but the next Tuesday of it. It's a bi-weekly sick testing call.
Okay, no problem. I think let's
Yeah.
update the content in this particular task and then maybe just tag those couple of folks and then we'll discuss from there.
Yeah, tag couple of folks as in I'm not sure whom to do that
Oh
because
no, you just update the content. So we'll discuss to whom to tag and then discuss further on this.
yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Okay. And then migration, Cinco migration.
It is in progress. I'm just changing a couple of things. Once that is done, I should be good to raise the PM.
Okay, that's fine. And what else we have? Load balancer integration. I just wanted to work on this. I'm not getting enough time. Maybe I'll see if I can. Okay, I'll check. Improve the doc. So I'm not sure what else we need to. Can someone take a look at it? Like if it is just a simple doc, maybe you can just update and then close it.
Sure,
You
Manju.
know,
Yeah. We'll check. Not sure what exactly he wants, but yeah, I'll go through it. Yeah.
Let's take a look at. This one need to explore. I think machine health check we explored. Machine set and cluster class also we need to see. Yeah, this is again marked as stale. Sure. Should be stale. Run E to E. Think we don't have a lot of. Maybe we'll do it in the next release.
Though I
Yes.
think it should be taken care by the PR that I have raised now. Yeah.
Oh, you already addressing.
Yeah. Somehow it addressed that. Yeah. Basically, we are getting the rid of the dependency on that particular package. Yeah. So
Okay. It should be in 0.3 in that case. Yeah, this is pending. Not sure how to deal with that. I think maybe we can wait for some more time because this whole import process is time consuming at the moment. Maybe once we get that announcement, like the reduced import time, maybe we can revisit this that time. Otherwise, the entire D2 itself is taking a lot of time. I don't want to kind of add any more extra cycles there. Yeah, that's pretty much with the task. Anything you think missing, like any comments? We need to have tasks for this cluster API thing, right? Cluster API migration to G8 version. G8 0.2 dot yeah. Maybe assign to him only. Then what else? Anything else from anyone?
No, Manju, nothing from my end.
Yeah, same, nothing from mine.
Okay. Thanks, folks. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank